Good morning. It's great to have all of you here today on our very first ETWorks services webinar, where we're going to be doing an introduction and overview to some of the services that ETWorks delivers, which, even though there are many people on this call who are existing ETWorks customers, have perhaps traditionally procured products and goods from us and software, and really maybe not that familiar with the services side of our business. And there's also some of you who are not familiar with ETWorks as a business. So hopefully this will be a good introduction to you on that level as well. So without further ado, a little bit about us as a company, who we are, why you can trust working with us and helping you on your journey with your strategic IT requirements. We have been around as a business over 28 years. I think it's actually close to 30 years now. I need to probably update my slide at some point. And really for us, the key thing that has motivated us in terms of how we work is to help our customers achieve the best they can through delivering highly innovative technology that really works to support your business's strategic objectives. We really believe in working closely with people, helping technology be an enabler for people rather than people having to enable technology, if I can put it that way. We like to do the hard work behind the scenes so that you can get the benefits of technology and see the outcomes for your business on a strategic level and really deliver on those key objectives. So making the IT teams the champions of the business, so to speak. In terms of the competencies of our business, where we are aligned strategically, really have key partnerships with Nutanix, Rubrik, and Citrix. Now, obviously, we have additional partnerships with a broad ecosystem of partners, Fujitsu, Lenovo, HPE, Dell, all the other traditional vendors in the industry. But we have particularly aligned with Nutanix, Rubrik, and Citrix around our next generation data center portfolio. Obviously, technologies like Nutanix and Rubrik and Citrix do run on hardware from all the major hardware providers. We provide our customers a full choice in terms of how they consume our services and solutions, whether that's on-prem, hybrid cloud, or public cloud, or a combination thereof. We've been doing this since 2014. So this, while these are new and innovative technologies, they're also tried and tested out there in the field. We've been delivering these kind of solutions since 2014, and we really are experts in this space in the industry. We've got reference sites across EMEA from some really large household name customers, driving thousands and thousands of users on all enterprise applications and business critical data on our Nutanix, Citrix, and Rubrik solutions. And we're happy to share those case studies and references with you. They're also available on our website if you want to go and read up on those. We're highly skilled and really deep technical skills in our team. I think that's probably one of the areas, for those of you not familiar with us as a business, where we set ourselves apart. Even from a sales perspective, all of our sales team have got a strong technical background, if not, a long history in IT operations or in solution design. So we really understand the technology that we sell. We've got a broad technical team with a very broad skill set, but highly skilled and certified in all the technologies that we deploy. So we're a Nutanix Cloud Champion, which is their top tier of partner. We're one of only a handful in the Western Europe region with that level of accreditation. We're a Citrix Silver partner, and we're Rubrik RTP certified. We've got data centers that we deliver our services, such as infrastructure as a service, desktop as a service, disaster recovery as a service, and backup as a service. So we're going to be touching on some of those today. We don't have time to cover all of our services, so we'll be focusing on a few of those in the presentation today. And by all means, please, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat, and I'll certainly try and address those at the end if we have the time. So just an overview of the technology stack that we've built our services on, and also some of the solutions that we offer. We have a portfolio around private cloud, predominantly that is built on Nutanix technology, with partners like Fujitsu, HPE, Lenovo, providing the hardware infrastructure for on-prem deployments. But we also deploy Nutanix software into the public cloud, be that in Azure or AWS, for a pure public cloud experience. And of course, a hybrid of the two, where we have customers running hybrid environments with a footprint both on-prem and in the public cloud, with a common management framework using technology like Nutanix Prism. From an end user computing perspective, we work closely with Xyframe, which is a Nutanix company, and specifically in sort of the 3D cloud-based desktops. And then with Citrix, we have many large customers running Citrix solutions for thousands of users across the sort of more traditional VDI type environments. From a data protection and archive perspective, key alignments there with Rubrik and Haiku as our major partners in that space. Assured data protection as well, helping us deliver the data protection services from ETWorks data centers. So we work in partnership with them strategically. And Wasabi for our long-term deep archive, providing you a very cost-effective, far more cost-effective than the public cloud solution for deep archive S3 type storage, where we archive out from Rubrik and Haiku into the Wasabi cloud. From a networking and security perspective, we have a broad range of vendors there. Don't really have the time to go into that in a lot of detail, but you could see from the names that are shown there, we have competencies from firewalling to intrusion detection and protection, through to networking solutions, zero trust networking, VPN technologies, and everything in between. So happy to have a follow-on discussion if any of those are areas of interest to you. So let's get into the heart of the webinar today, just talking through the ETWorks services portfolio. We have a broad portfolio, which is nicely represented here in this wheel on the left, covering data protection, which is an area we'll go into today, managed infrastructure services, which may be new to some of you, and happily spend a bit of time covering that. We've got our co-managed services portfolio, which is around giving you access to our skilled technical team. So it allows you to have a drawdown of hours to help with projects or support. We've got infrastructure as a service, which is, as it says on the tin, really delivering infrastructure out of our data centers as a service, which you then consume on a per node per month, or per user per month, or per terabyte per month. However the consumption model is suited to you, we can tailor that around your needs. We've got managed support services, which we won't have time to cover today. Perhaps we'll do that on a follow-up webinar, and desktop as a service, which we also won't have time to cover in any detail today. But that is, again, cloud-based or hybrid cloud or on-prem desktop delivery, fully managed by us. So today we're going to focus on the sort of four key areas on the right-hand side, as I've mentioned. So we'll go through those in a bit more detail. So first off, why choose ETWorks services? I think we've kind of nailed the ABCs of service delivery. And the first one of that really is that we want to make it easy to agree for you. Now, we appreciate that you have a choice of many service providers out there, many options. And really, we want to give you the flexibility when it comes to how we agree a contract with you, because we appreciate that every customer is different, and one size doesn't fit all. I'm not going to mention names, but many of our competitors would really just offer you one form of contract and that's it. We really are able to show flexibility in that regard to design something that's right for your business. When it comes to how you buy the services from us, we again like to make that easy for you, because we know that some customers want to buy equipment, others have got budgets that come in an OpEx form and would like to lease or rent. And whether it's a 12-month term or a longer term service, we offer again flexibility around that. So it's any kind of flavor of ice cream when you come to us, really. And then lastly, the easy to consume piece. An operational model again needs to be tailored to your particular needs. We appreciate that different businesses run differently, and there may be aspects that we manage for one customer that another customer may not want us to manage. So we try to show a lot of flexibility there as well in terms of how you can consume those services, and really see it more as a partnership rather than a consumer service provider type relationship. We really like to partner with you strategically around the service delivery aspects. So it becomes a real conversation around how we can integrate our business with yours to help get you the outcome you're looking for. We have a layered cloud services model. And the reason we describe in that way is because really each layer, you can either buy the whole cake, or you can pick the layers of flavors that you like and that are right for you. And you can deploy them in a combination of our data centers or in the public cloud, or a hybrid of the two. So we offer just pure data center hosting, for example. So if you are just looking for a place to put your business IT assets, we'll water those and feed those for you, so to speak, and put them in a secure tier 3 or 4 data center here in the UK. We also have data center partners in Norway and South Africa, so we can provide an international hosting footprint if that's required. And that's just really basic colo services. Then on top of that, we can layer infrastructure as a service, where you then rent a cloud platform us, covering all the hardware, software, licensing, and we provide that as a fully managed infrastructure to you. On top of that is the desktops as a service piece, where we have a hybrid cloud deployment where the cloud, the desktop broker sits in the cloud, whether that's Citrix or Zyframe, and then you can have desktops running either on premises on existing infrastructure in our data centers or in the public cloud, and you're managing that all through a single broker service. We have data protection as a service on top of that, so both disaster recovery and backup as a service. I'm going to go into the details of that in a bit later, so I won't say too much there now. We've got managed infrastructure services, which I'll also go into a bit more detail later, and that's where we provide monitoring and management around your infrastructure. And then last but not least is the co-managed services, which kind of sits as a layer on top, or it can be applied independently altogether, which is the monthly call-off hours that I mentioned earlier. So let's go into those in a bit more detail. So first of all, infrastructure as a service. So what is infrastructure as a service? It really is a fully managed infrastructure as a service capability that we deliver out of our UK data centers. We can also deliver this out of our Norway and SA data centers as well. So again, multi-country capabilities if that's a requirement for your business. And if you look at this, there's sort of a spectrum here as to what that might mean. So from a traditional on-prem solution is perhaps what many IT consumers are used to, is where you buy infrastructure, you deploy it on premises on your site, and then you manage that yourself. You typically purchase that on a CapEx type of basis, the hardware and software. On the right-hand side, we've got the ETWorks infrastructure as a service options, the 3 different flavors there. Now, the first one, the managed infrastructure services, actually stands as a pillar on its own. So I'm going to come back to that on the next slide. But that's where the infrastructure is the reason I'm presenting in this order is it's sort of a progression from left to right. So even I'm going to come back to this on the next slide, bear with me. But just in brief, really, you've got managed infrastructure services where you've got your equipment on your premises, but we actually manage that for you, right? So we completely make sure that is patched and managed and maintained and monitored, and we interact with your team to provide that service. Typically, you would still be purchasing the hardware potentially and owning that yourself. Perhaps you're renting the software. It could be a hybrid in terms of the commercial model around that. We can provide either CapEx or OpEx options around how that's consumed from a hardware and software perspective. Then the central pillar there is hosted as a service. This is the most common and popular one in terms of what our customers are using today, which is where we host a private cloud for you in one of our data centers. So it is infrastructure as a service hosted in an ETWorks data center in one of our regions, and we fully manage that infrastructure for you. We patch it, we monitor it, we maintain it. All you do is you consume that in the sense of you provision your virtual machines and you deploy your applications, and everything underneath of that effectively becomes invisible to you in a sense. You just become a consumer of the platform. And typically the way we deliver that would be as a hardware and software rental model. So you pay a fixed price per month or per quarter or per year, however you would like to structure that. We can be flexible around that. The final pillar there is where we deploy the infrastructure in the public cloud. So we use either Azure or AWS as our main public cloud partners. The infrastructure there is obviously provided by them in that particular case. We would deploy whatever software and services on that for you and help manage that for you on your behalf. And again, you just become a consumer of that. And typically that would be purchased on an OpEx subscription model. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And as I said, managed infrastructure services, I'm going to kind of dive into that a bit deeper now to explain what that is. It's quite a unique service offering. We have quite a few of our customers actually using this today because it's designed for, particularly in the world we're in today, where there is an impetus to move to more sort of cloud-based type solutions. And really, if you look at one of the key reasons behind that is because IT teams are too busy to look after infrastructure. Like if you can really just whittle it down to one of the core reasons. So what we do in this case is, actually manage that on-premise infrastructure for you. So existing on-prem infrastructure that you already have today, or perhaps you're deploying a new solution, we can actually take over the management of that. So doing the day-to-day monitoring, management, patching of that. And really it's, a lot of customers still see the benefits of both the security and lower cost profile of hosting infrastructure on premise. It could be that you've made an investment in a data center or a comms room that you've built out, and really not ready to take that infrastructure off site yet. You want to see a return on that investment. So keeping infrastructure on premises, but not having the time to manage it, we can look after those resources for you. And the way we deliver that is we will deploy monitoring management software inside your data center on that infrastructure. We'll receive alerts to our NOC, and then we'll proactively engage with you, to perform updates on that. And we can also include an optional hardware break fix service if that's required. So that's managed infrastructure services. Hopefully the distinction there is clear enough. Then moving on to co-managed services. So what are these? This is also a fairly unique service, I believe, where we make the skills in our engineering team available to our customers for specific IT projects or sort of general support requests. And really anything that's within the skill set of the ETWorks engineering team is available to be put inside a co-managed services wrapper. Who is it applicable for? Really, it's if you wanting to continue owning the day-to-day operations of your IT services, but you need a helping hand perhaps for particular projects. You need maybe an engineer or a consultant to help you deliver or design a particular solution. You need some on-site support, perhaps some third-line support. It's not designed as a first-line support service in the sense of your end users contacting our help desk. Is really designed for an IT team that needs to contact a third-line support organization, and that's really what we offer, that sort of third-line support organization. And the way we deliver that is you basically purchase a contracted sort of hours per month. We have a minimum 12-month term, but the number of hours a month can range from just a handful to as many as you need. And these can then be rolled over. So let's say you buy 5 hours a month and you don't use them in one particular month, you can roll them over up to 6 months. So you could accumulate 5 hours per month for up to 6 months, and you could use all of the hours at once for a major project or rollout. So it's a flexible service. It's also discounted on our standard day rate. So there's a benefit to you in engaging in a co-managed services contract. You get a discount on the standard ETWorks day rate. So we find a lot of customers benefit from that and use that as an addition, even if you already have managed infrastructure services or infrastructure as a service with us. This is an additional sort of layer on top that provides that additional help and support for your IT team, without you having to go and hire in a particular resource with those particular skill sets. Next up, we've got our data protection as a service. Just keeping an eye on the time there. We'll leave some time for questions at the end. So I've seen there's a few people that joined a bit late on the call, so feel free to pop any questions you might have into the chat, and I'll happily get to those at the end of the session. So just talking about ETWorks services, coming to data protection as a service, which is really split into two legs there: disaster recovery as a service and backup as a service. Those can be bought independently of each other. We actually have various flavors around that. So we have what we call a shared service and a dedicated service. So in some cases, it might be you have a disaster recovery requirement for a second data center. You don't actually have your own second data center. You want a second site where you can take your production workloads and fail them over into a secure managed environment. And that's what we offer with our disaster recovery services. And two flavors there, shared and dedicated. The dedicated one is a service that's designed sort of a one-to-one mapping, where you have a dedicated cluster in the DR environment that we manage for you, but it's under your control from an operational perspective. So you can deploy, and it's metered at a fixed cost. So you can deploy live workloads on there as well, because some customers have that requirement to run in sort of an active state from a disaster recovery perspective. So that's the one model. The shared infrastructure model is where we have a shared disaster recovery platform, and that's more appropriate for an active passive type of recovery model, where you've got your production environment, you want to replicate all of that data into our environment, and you want to make sure that that's available to stand up in the event of a major disaster. So I'll go into the flavors of this in a bit more detail on the next slide. But in terms of the workloads that we can protect with the service, really everything. So whether that's your public cloud workloads, be that Azure, GCP, AWS, Microsoft 365, and then any kind of on-prem workloads that you might have in ranging from, major enterprise applications, Oracle, SQL, SAP, right across to NAS shares and general virtual machines and data. All of that is in scope for our backup as a service. So we can protect all of those workloads. The key technology behind all of this is Rubrik from a data protection and replication perspective. And the reason why we've chosen Rubrik technology to deliver this is because it's the world's #1 data backup and recovery platform today, offering unique features around cyber resilience. So it's the only platform that's built from day one with an immutable file system, which means it's fully resilient against any kind of cryptovirus attack. Your data is immutable once it touches the backup as a service infrastructure. And we can provide instant recovery of that data. And it is, as I said, once the data is in our solution, it can't be affected by a crypto virus. We also have data governance features included in this for those who are have compliance requirements being driven by the business. We can give you visibility into your data, what kind of data you have, how it's being used, who has access to it, which is really powerful and necessary to support GDPR type and other general, compliance requirements, depending on the type of business that you have. So looking into those in a bit more detail, we've got various consumption models there as well to offer you maximum flexibility. So you could even go for a fairly traditional approach, which is the sort of option 1 there on the left, where you're actually hosting this completely inside your data center. So let's say you did have 2 sites and you didn't want to take stuff off premise to a 3rd site. You just were happy to have your 2 sites that were geographically separated enough. We could actually set up an infrastructure for you in your 2 environments where we've got Rubrik infrastructure at site A and site B, replicating from A to B or B to A or both bi-directional, whichever way you need to do that. The actual software can be owned and managed by you if that's your preference. So that could be a fairly traditional purchase of the technology, but very different from an operational perspective in terms of how Rubrik works. It doesn't have the traditional operational burdens of a legacy backup solution. It's driven purely by SLAs. You define your RPOs and RTOs, and then the solution then basically takes care of that for you. And all you need to do is sort of manage or deal with any exceptions that it will flag up to you. The second option is the managed on-prem solution. So still sits inside your data center. Again, typically you'd have 2 sites. We would deploy the Rubrik infrastructure, but we will also manage that Rubrik infrastructure fully for you and provide it to you on a consumption model basis. So typically it would be like an OpEx type of purchase where you'd pay monthly, annually, or on a multi-year basis for X number of terabytes of capacity. So you then buy that as a managed solution from us, but it is fully deployed on your premises. Then option 3 is a fully managed and hosted disaster recovery, backup and disaster recovery as a service. So how that would work is we would typically deploy a Rubrik brick at your primary site, and that would then be available for local instant recovery of your backups. But at the same time, anything we back up locally, we also replicate that across into our data center, where we've got a large shared Rubrik infrastructure and Nutanix infrastructure for the disaster recovery component, and basically replicate your data across. And then in the event of a major disaster, you can invoke a disaster recovery request with us, and we will spin up your entire environment in our data center, fully protected against any kind of either crypto virus, data center outage, whatever it is that you get hit with at your production environment. We can fully recover that in our environment. So that's the sort of true cloud-based service, and that's delivered typically on a per terabyte per month type of basis.